Welcome to Dead Man Talking. Tonight's story is just to finish off tonight's show, as it wouldn't be Dead Man Talking without a werewolf or dogman sighting or encounter. I hope you guys are going to enjoy this one. I've enjoyed reading through it, and I think you're going to like it. Please do let me know down below. As ever, guys, please do like and share. Without further ado, let's get into tonight's Dogman story entitled, is it a Dogman? Native Shapeshifter? What the fuck? Let's get straight into that. Let me preface this by saying two things. First, I've used this name on Reddit for a while. I didn't adopt it for the occasion, and I was using it before this happened to me. Second, I have always been a hardline skeptic with zero belief in anything supernatural, but that has slowly changed over the past year as I've had even more weird experiences happen. The weird experiences began after I moved to an island. This is one island in a good-sized archipelago, which stretches from Canada around Vancouver Island down into US territory. For many hundreds of years, the Coast Salish people have apparently inhabited every moderately sized island in the archipelago except for one. The one where I live. I have heard a variety of explanations for the non-inhabitation of this particular island, but the one I hear most often is, it's a place with too much supernatural power. It's not good to live on, only to visit for ceremonies. Now, recently, a fellow from one of the Coast Salish tribes has begun coming to this island and hanging out at the village for the day, then heading back to the mainland. One of these days, I'm going to work up the nerve to ask him if it's true that the CS tribes never inhabited this island, and if so, why? I think it's telling that every islander I have come to know, well, has eventually confided their own spooky stories to me. Others, whom I don't know well enough for such conversations, have merely made passing comment that this is a weird place, and things just happen to people here. One particularly quirky woman I've met, and don't get me wrong, I'm half convinced, and is totally serious about this, that this island is somehow manages to exist in the real world and not in the real world at the same time, that it is sort of suspended between worlds, and that everybody who lives here is actually dead, and or has a connection to a dead son, as in, if they aren't dead themselves, they lost a son tragically, and that's why they're here. She has a fascinating life story that has led her to this belief. I won't go into it now, since it doesn't have anything to do with this sub, but that's the sort of beliefs and conversations people just have here. It's a very strange place. It's incredibly beautiful, but weird as fuck. Anyway, I didn't know that weird things happen to people here before I decided to live here. Excuse me. I just like it. But almost from day one, a series of extremely odd things have happened to me for which, skeptical as I have always been, I can still find sparse, rational explanations. Most of these experiences, most people would label classic ghost encounters or hauntings. I am still not ready to say, yeah, it was ghosts. My house and my office are both totally haunted. But if I were to write out the stories, you say, yeah, those are ghosts, and your house and your office are both totally haunted. That's the skeptic in me holding fast. But I had a far weirder encounter about 6 months ago that fits neatly with this sub's theme. I had been cat-sitting for a friend while she was away on vacation. I went to her house twice a day to feed her cat and spend a little time with Kitty. It was the dead of winter, so even early in the evening it was very dark, and there aren't many streetlights out here. And we're quite far away from any cities, so there is no light pollution. It's so dark here that it actually took me several months to adjust to it. Every night I would feel overwhelmed with anxiety, and it took me a long time to figure out that I'd grown so used to light pollution in cities and suburbs that I'd never known a truly black night before. The nights were too dark for me here at first. So, I was leaving my friend's house after caring for her cat, and it was pitch black, as our cloudy nights are. I felt a little creepy as I walked through her yard and got into my car, but that was nothing new to me by that point. I started my car and backed out of her driveway and headed down her street. I then stopped at a stop sign. My headlights created a beam of light that stretched over the crossroad and into the middle of the street that lay directly opposite. A cul-de-sac that led to a few houses on the bluff that overlooked the water. There was something crouched in the middle of that street. It had a human shape with human proportions, but it was big, at least 7 feet tall if it were to stand upright. But it wasn't standing up, it was bent double, with its arms or forelegs resting on the pavement, but its hips and knees scrunched up. You know, the way a sprinter crouches before starting a race. It was just at the edge of my headlights' beams, and it was the same sleek black colour all over, as if it was covered in short, hard hair coat like a horse's hide. Its whole body was heaving rhythmically, as if it was panting heavily, and it was staring directly at me. It had huge, glowing green eyes. I didn't know what I ought to do, if anything. But by that time, I was used to weird shit happening to me on this island. So, I just sat there calmly at the stop sign, holding on to my steering wheel with both hands, and looking back at it. It continued to crouch in the headlights, looking back at me, and heaving up and down, breathing, or whatever it was doing. I said aloud, though there was nobody in the car with me, "Is that a werewolf?" And after a few more seconds of looking at it, I answered myself, "Yep, that's a werewolf." I decided there was nothing for it but to just drive home. So I did. But as you can imagine, I kept looking in the mirrors to see if it was following me. Luckily, it didn't follow me. I got home and promptly posted on Facebook about this weird-ass encounter. Of course, all my friends know how skeptical I am, so they had a blast making fun of me for making a claim that was out of character for me. I played along and took their ribbon good naturally. I think they all still believe I was pranking them, but I was absolutely serious. I really saw that thing. The few friends who took my story a little bit more seriously asked me a bunch of questions about it and determined that I'd seen a dogman, not a werewolf. I'm not sure there's a functional difference between the two, but recent reading about the prevalence of shapeshifter lore among North American tribes makes me wonder if it was not a dogman, but something else. Perhaps the fact that all the Coast Salish tribes regard this island as too supernatural to live on has something to do with it. Anyway, I haven't seen any other dogmen, shapeshifters, skinwalkers, whatever you would want to call them, though I continue to have other weird experiences. When my friend came home from her vacation, I didn't tell her what I'd seen right away. I didn't really want to scare her, but a few weeks later, I admitted I'd seen something. I could only describe it as a werewolf or a dog man. She asked where I'd seen it. I described the location, and she casually said, "Oh yeah, I see weird shit on that street all the time at night," as if it was no big deal. Maybe, in this place, it's not a big deal after all. Anyway, there's my story. Peace out. Wow, hope you guys enjoyed that encounter. Really liked that story. Please do let me know what you think down below, guys. Please do like and share. And as ever, folks, remember, be safe, not sorry.